Yo. Bit closer. Watch that be the thumbnail. Watch it, honestly. Facebook loves to do that to me. Just gonna give you a couple of minutes to see if you jump on live. Hi Eileen. As always, say hello if you're watching live or on the replay and you'd like to know who's around, what's going on. Hi Alice. Hey girl. So I was reading through all of your responses when I asked the question what you'd like me to riff on. And I was kind of feeling into like which ones gave me the most sacral juice to respond with. And I found like some of them, obviously I just gave you like a little something in the comments because there was something there that kind of wanted to be shared and wanted to come through to help you put your, almost to like put your request into perspective. And sometimes what will happen is that I will feel where the question is coming from. So when someone asks me a question, they may perceive that that is the question that they want answered, but then I can kind of just feel the undercurrent of what energy is at play in the background, like the background frequency of the question, and I will speak to that. So I've done that for a few of you in the comments. However, hey Gabriella, hey Paul, I would love to know if you saw that post that I put in asking for like what would you love me to riff on. Were there any that really stood out to you, or is there something that's like on your heart that you're like, oh, I would love to hear you speak to? This is not like me solving your problems or me coaching necessarily. It's literally just give me something to riff on and we'll see what drops in. But yes, I saw Whitney's asking about like how do you navigate remaining patient with people who haven't invested in doing the work on themselves. And I think I'm in quite a good situation personally when it comes to this, simply because I have a small circle of people that I actually spend time with, like physically, and I don't really have anyone who doesn't because that's what I've chosen, and it's quite hard. I find it very draining to be in the presence of people who just want to kind of emotionally dump or just want to moan about stuff. So I just don't tend to have those people in my life. I haven't necessarily had to do like a culling or anything. It's just that those people, they just kind of fall away. So for me, that it's less about, personally for me, it's less about how do I navigate that and how am I patient with those people. And it's more about just really being very mindful and curating a close inner circle of people who are on the same wavelength. And I think that's one of the reasons why the collective is so great, right? Because everyone in there is committed to doing the work for themselves and for their business, and for, you know, like we saw yesterday in our one-to-one call, there was in the one-to-one call that happened in the collective yesterday, we were talking about generational trauma and ancestral trauma and how that is carried through our lineage, through us, like into our physical body, and we then continue to perpetuate these cycles that our ancestors were, you know, sowing the seeds of. And that's a lot. That is a lot for someone to take on. And I think my perspective on this is it's gotten easier for me to be around people who aren't as into self-development, spiritual development, growth, self-awareness, self-responsibility, all that stuff. It's gotten easier for me to be around those people because I no longer feel that I need to fix it for them, solve it for them, teach them anything. And I think that's probably one of the biggest drains, is when we are around those people, it's like we can often sense inside of ourselves the distance that's growing between us and someone who, in our old way of viewing the world, they resonated, they vibrated, they were a match. And then as our vibration shifts into a new frequency, and we're vibrating somewhere else, we can have this feeling inside of us that we almost want to let that vibration ripple out and like impact other people, and we want other people to come on the journey with us, as much for us as for them, because letting go is hard sometimes. So it can also be a little bit of less about how can I be patient with these people, because the answer to that is just, we'll just be patient. That's the answer. You know, if you want to, if the question is, how can I be more patient with people who are not on the same growth journey as I am, then the answer is, we'll just be more patient, just practice. But it feels to me that there's, you know, like that undercurrent of, okay, so why is it hard for me? Why do I feel I need to be patient with them? What am I being patient for? What am I waiting for? Am I waiting for them to jump on the wagon? Because the fact of the matter is, once you've been doing this self-development, self-reflection, growth, transformational work for a while, you will notice that when someone just starts dipping their toe in, you are streets away from where they are. You know, there is a big difference between someone who's picked up a self-development book or listened to a Tony Robbins lecture or like found some YouTube Abraham Hicks. There's a big difference from the person who's had that first like dipping their toe into the pool of their own awakening versus someone who's a bit more seasoned and weathered and has had multiple dark nights of the soul, has journeyed their own shadow and integrated parts of themselves that they never used to even be able to look at, let alone love, and now they are able to love them and integrate them and shine light on them without feeling shame, embarrassment, guilt, etc. So I think that's the perception shift, or the perspective shift, is, do I really need to be patient with these people? Or is it actually more about, where is that desire for me to be patient coming from? Am I wanting to be patient so that I can keep them in my life? So often we think it's for them, but really it's for us. So I'd love to hear your reflections on that and where this is landing. Yeah, this feels like quite a clean transmission, like quite clear. So I'm feeling like it's going to be landing with a lot of you, and it might be a bit confronting and uncomfortable, but it's, you know, it's kind of one of those horrible, uncomfortable truths that we have to deal with when we're into this growth work, right? But I think you have to get very comfortable, or not comfortable. Maybe what I want to say is, get comfortable with the feeling of discomfort in relationships. Get comfortable with the discomfort of loneliness, because we all really have this deep desire as humans to be accepted, to belong, to feel belonging to something. We have that tribal essence in us, right? That sacral urge and desire to be in connection with other people. And what happens is, as I said kind of before, it's like as we grow and we shift, our focus shifts, the things we're interested in talking about, the things we want to do, the kind of conversations we want to be having. Like, we don't really want to be gossiping or talking about other people. We want to just be focusing on like our expansion, and tell me about the stuff that happened to you when you were a child that we can sift through so that you can elevate into your next level, right? We're not really interested in like, oh, how's the weather? A lot of the people who are drawn to my work or to my words are people who really crave and desire and have a longing for deep soul, heart, gut connection with people. And we love so fiercely and so deeply, and we can often find ourselves feeling like a disparity between where we are and what we're willing to invest in a relationship and its growth versus what other people are willing to. Because a lot of other people just want to stay where they are. And it's also about navigating the sensations in our body that we have when we realize not everybody wants to transform their lives. Not everyone wants to do that. And that's not right or wrong or good or bad. It's just different. So when we stop seeing our way as better and just see it as different, I think that also helps. And you can't shake people awake. And this is one of my big things that I will say to people when they come and do like my EFT trainings, or, you know, when they start doing one-to-one work with me and their life really starts like fucking rapidly transforming and they're like, I'm so different, fuck, like, what do I do with this new way of navigating the world? Like, it feels good, but you know? So I have these conversations quite a lot around, you've got to remember that you're going to change within the context of your relationships, and other people are going to witness that change, and that can cause them to double down on their stubbornness or double down on their manipulation, or they want to control you, or almost like sometimes that it can expand them into where you're going as well, and they'll be inspired and they'll be like, ooh, what's going on there? And other times they'll kind of, as I say, like double down on who they think they are, because they're so concerned with protecting the facade and the illusions that they've created for themselves because they feel so real. And this growth path is not for everybody. Not everybody wants to have this spiritual experience of life. Some people are genuinely, like I say, quote unquote, happy. Their version of happy, getting up, going to a job, being employed, getting their wage, doing their, you know, spending their free time doing the thing that they want to do or not, getting married, having kids, buying a house, like all the traditional stuff. Some people are genuinely, they're just going to follow that path, and some of them will be happy. Some of us who go on this growth journey will be happy. Some of us won't. Committing to a spiritual path or a path of growth and, you know, elevating your consciousness and tapping into more parts of yourselves and becoming more fully expressed, I think sometimes we can look at that and think, oh, that would be so great. That'd be like, yes, I want that. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll be joyful. Then I'll enjoy my life. And it's really about remembering, like, it's actually not fair to try and shake someone else awake, because once you start on this path, you can't get off. Like, is it the red pill in the Matrix? Once you've been red pilled, you can't unsee. Once the veil's been lifted, you can't put the fucking veil back. No matter how hard you try, you know, like I talk about the chicken, the egg, like once you've poked your head out of that little shell and you've looked around, you've got that little shell hat on and you're like, your little head's poked out of the shell and you're going, oh fuck, I've seen the truths of the world and the universe and how it all works. Oh shit, can I get back in my shell? I don't want to know this. I don't want to know these new truths. But you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. You can't unknow what you learn when you start embarking on this spiritual journey. So who the fuck are we to try and shake someone else awake and kick their ass onto the path? That's not fair, right? All we can do is commit even more deeply to our own alignment, our own satisfaction, our own sense of success or peace or, you know, whatever. So I'm not seeing any comments. I'm wondering if it's because because I have. Sometimes if I do the swipe, comments will come. Oh, there we go. Now they're popping in. Oh, I love that, Jane. In the garden. Being lonely among people is tricky. Yeah, that's why it's important, right? To find that connectivity as well, particularly as with your 4 line as well, Gabriella, you know, that kind of, that desire to connect, to have community is so deep for you. Because of course the opposite is also something that's a bit tricky, being a lone wolf, and actually over identifying with being a lone wolf can also come with its own set of bullshit that we have to deprogram. Family is another man. Yeah, it's amazing how being around negativity, yeah, because I feel like, just responding to Paul's comment about being around negativity can pull you down yourself, it's, for me, it's like remembering that. The way that I see this is almost like, the visual I'm getting is like lots of different like strings or threads or cords of energy is how I see it. And almost like, you know, like the veins or the meridian system is how I visualize it. Like just coming all the way down, all the way through our system. We are made of all these different threads, millions and millions of them. And they all have their own unique frequency. Some of them, if they're plucked, vibrate, and we call that sadness. Some of them, if they're plucked, we call it loneliness, and then we feel the vibration of what we label as loneliness. So I saw this video on like on a reel or something where there's a tuning fork, you know, tuning forks where you like ping them and then they vibrate at a certain note or frequency, and people actually, they're called tuning forks because you use them to like tune your guitar or your piano or whatever, right? So I saw this thing where there was a tuning fork and there was another tuning fork that had a different frequency, and when they pinged that one and held it next to this one, nothing happened because they don't have the same frequency, so nothing happened. But then they picked up a tuning fork that had the same frequency, pinged that, stood it next to it, and then they both started vibrating because there was a match, so they started to vibrate. So the two things here is, I do believe that we have every frequency of all the things available to us and running through us. And it's about aligning ourselves consciously with the people who vibrate at a place that we want to elevate to or we want to move into. So very often, you know, I talk about the power of transmission or just being in my energetic field, because I know that when I am being very mindful about my internal frequency, as I am pretty much 99% of the time, it's like my life's work, when people are around me, they feel that. Excuse me, talking about energy and frequency, and I'm already burping. So of course, surrounding yourselves with people, it's, when I think about it like tuning forks. If someone is vibrating in a different place to me, I have the option of allowing the cord within me that vibrates at the same place as them. I have the option of letting that vibrate and then rule my, like, you know, amplify in my body. Or I have the opportunity, so you can, one part is you can surround yourself with the frequency that you want to elevate into so that your body becomes more calibrated, and that becomes like the baseline for you, right? So you're elevating your baseline, your kind of homeostasis, if you will. And then the other part of this is, just because somebody else is vibrating somewhere, if you feel that that's affecting your vibration, you do have the ability to either step away from that, or you have the ability to tune into a different vibration that lives in your body already, and kind of like ping your own string, if you will. Does that make sense? So it's like, that takes more effort and more energy, but it can be done. But it is more like you're expending more energy by doing that. So just naturally spending time with people and in places, in environments, eating foods, everything we do. It's not just people, right? It's like today, I went into my cupboard and I have 4 of these mugs and they're all different colors. I have this one, a teal one, a kind of very like a warm grey one, and a black one. And they're all the same style, but they have a different colour on the outside. And when I was going through my cupboard, I picked the grey one up and I was like, I'm going to be looking at myself on a camera. Do I want to be looking at and feeling the vibration of this mug? Okay, this is this is the depths to which I take this shit, people. This is like the level of intention that I have quite a lot of the time, not all the time, but in my life, I cultivate my life through intention. So I knew that when I picked up the yellow mug, if I could see that, it was going to bring like lightness to me because it's yellow and it's like joyful and solar plexus energy. And when I felt into the yellow, I was like, yeah, that feels good. So it's not just about other people, right? Our vibration, our frequency is affected by everything. The clothes you wear. I decided to put this like shimmery purpley pink stuff on my eyes today because I just saw it, and as a sacral being, I saw it in my makeup drawer and I was like, ooh, yum, that feels fun. And I put it on. So we can allow our vibration to be affected by the things around us, and we can also cultivate our internal vibration, and that is the most important part. But no matter how mindful you are with cultivating your own internal vibration and frequency, life be life in. So, things are gonna happen. You are gonna have people or things, or again, could even be colors. How different do you feel when the sun is out versus when it's overcast and grey outside, Because you look outside and when the sun's out, everything seems brighter and more vibrant, and it's like, and then when it's grey, it's kind of like, the colours are muted, and it might look beautiful artistically, but like on a mood level, how is that impacting you? So there's so many, thank you, Phil, blush. But it's really, again, it's like intentionality. It's intentionality. So does anyone have any questions about what I've been speaking about so far? Is anything landing with you? Talk to me, people. Talk to me. Yeah, I've really been playing with like the vibration of food recently as well, which has been very interesting. Oh, you've been wow, that's interesting, Phil. Oh, well, I'm glad you're here. Loneliness is a tricky one, Like I do feel to feel alone is so different, but to actually feel lonely, it's that sense almost, it's like an isolating feeling for me. When I think about feeling alone, that doesn't bother me so much. There's actually something quite freeing about feeling like alone. Feeling lonely, I think, is so different. For me, the texture of feeling lonely is like, again, like there's a grayness to it, and there's this is just personal, like texturally, that's how it feels to me. And it's a tricky one, because when we feel lonely, I think it comes along, and again, just speaking from my own personal experience with this frequency in the body, it comes for me with a sense of feeling isolated, and like no one understands how I'm feeling, or no one understands me. There's a texture of that in it for me personally as well. Yeah, oh, same, Phil. I love being on my own. Like I love my own company. Yeah, for sure, Jane. I think I attract people as well who are naturally, like, can be extroverted when they need to be, and yet have like a very introverted side as well. I think those people are naturally quite drawn to me because that's my frequency as well. I just love those times of being completely alone and knowing like, as much as I love my boyfriend and we've been together, it'll be 12 years on Saturday. I mean, holy fucking balls. It's weird to look back actually at, you know, thinking at the person that he met 12 years ago, even though I was still the same person. As a 6 line, I've gone through, you know, I'm 40 now. I was 40 in April. I know, don't look a day over 35. You're welcome. I'm aware that I've also crossed that threshold in our time together of turning 30. So that kind of 6 line, you know, it's like in a 6 line human design, you have the first 30 years, then you have 30 to 50 where you're kind of in the embodying phase, and then from 50 onwards you're kind of like fully embodied in the wisdom. And yeah, so it's so interesting for me to look back and think the person he met, although it was me, is very different from the person that I am now. And seeing how, because he's a 6 line as well actually, and sometimes I think he's a 4/6. And so sometimes I forget that he's a 6 line, but what I've started doing recently is like, this is a total tangent, but anyway, that's what we're here for. Hello! As a 6 line, I used to get really frustrated when he like wouldn't take my advice, or he wouldn't like, I would see the answer to the problem and I'd be like, oh, it's this, and I'd offer him some wisdom and he wouldn't want to hear it. And I was like, well, that's annoying. Whereas now what I've noticed is that both of us will actively ask the other for advice on things. It's really cool. Like, I've let him, I was experiencing some fatigue after I had my last bout of the vid, and like real fatigue, like horrible, and was feeling quite depressed because I like to be active. You guys know I like to hit things, I like to train, I like to run, I like to do all the things, and I could feel like I was, you know, I've put on some weight because I just had no freaking energy to do as much as I wanted to do. So he went online and did all this research, and then he, you know, found all these amazing like natural supplements to take, and then he's ordered them all, and like, you know, he told me which ones to take, and I felt like my sacral was like, yes, you've got to try this. This feels good. So I've started to allow his 6 line wisdom in, and he's started to allow mine, and like he will ask for my advice on certain things now. And it's such a beautiful evolution of what it's like to have 2 6s living together. Like, there is no way I would have taken his advice about anything really when we first got together, because I'm like, no, I know best. But the more I've learned about human design, I'm like, oh, you're a 6, like you have a natural wisdom, even if it's not something you've experienced yourself. Very often there's just this like wisdom about things that the 6 carries. So I've started to trust it more, and it's been amazing. He did live telly on Saturday. Buzzy being an extrovert today. Yes, Jane, I can totally relate to that. And it's like allowing time for the contraction after the expansion. I think a lot of people don't do that. We kind of get into this role of momentum with things in life, and things will happen and we're like, expanded in this whole new way, and we forget that we often need that contraction. Like, life is about expanding and contracting. Like, it's part of the rhythm and the flow of life. It's how our heart beats, right? Opens and closes. So when we forget to allow ourselves to kind of schedule in time to contract afterwards, it will happen. It will still happen, but it might knock us on our ass. So it's quite good for us to actually be like, right, I know I've got this big thing coming up, so what I'm going to do is, my personal example of this is 3 days of in-person EFT training, and then I always take 2 days off, and on the second day I make sure I have a spa day booked so I can just pamper myself. So guys, I would love to know, before we wrap up, What is the main thing that you have received or taken away from this riff? We covered quite a lot in a short space of half an hour. So we started by speaking about how do you deal with it when people are just not on the same growth track as you. With the muggles, how do we deal with the muggles who are not interested in growing with us? And then we've moved into lots of different things. A little life update. So tell me, what is the main thing you've received or taken for yourself that you're like, huh, yeah, that's given me a new perspective or whatever? Like, lock it in the comments. Let me know. Oh my God, Heinz looks so cute right now. So cute. Tell me, tell me, tell me. I was going to wait for these comments to come in because they take a minute. We actually... This is like about 3 masterclasses in one when I think about all the things I've spoken about today. Tuning forks. Yes, I love that, Jane. Yes. Yes, Alice. I love that. Throw them out. Burn the fuckers. Beautiful, Eloise. Yes. And I feel like anyone who's a 6'2" profile in here, I feel like that's such a big piece for us as well, because it's like 6 being the role model, 2 being the hermit. So the 6 line is like, I want to be in the spotlight, and then the 2 goes, okay, now I want to get back in my little hermit shell. Line 6, what, as in you have lots of line 6s in your family, Sue, or? You're also a projector, right? So what you got to remember is, you're a projector, aren't you, Sue? I'm right in thinking that. As a projector, Annie, you should check out your human design on My Human Design app. That's what it's called. It's not My Human Design app. It's just called My Human Design. Yeah, just let them be, because we want people to just let us be, right? And for some reason we're like, why? So that's just set off something else in me, Paul. We could be here for another hour. It's almost like we want other people to just respect our choices to grow. Like, can you just let me do my thing, change my life, transform, become 8 different people in the space of a year? Can you just leave me be? But we are so happy to get up in other people's business and be like, why aren't you doing the work? You should read this book, or like whatever, right? So I think that's a really nice way of putting it, Paul, because it helps me also like reflect it back from the other way of just like, we want to be left alone to just do our own thing and not be judged and not to fucking justify or explain or prove ourselves. So let's stop expecting other people to do it, right? And just let them be. That it's not just me that doesn't feel like a muggle. Yes, you are not alone, Catherine. You are not alone. Right, so Sue, let me just share a little bit of wisdom around how it feels as a non-projector type, how it feels to receive unsolicited, uninvited advice from a projector. Bearing in mind, I have projectors in my life who I adore. Some of my favourite people in the world are projectors. So the way it feels to receive advice from a projector is like someone's taken a lightsaber and stabbed you through the gut. It's like, it feels like criticism to me. And that's kind of that's the best way I can describe it, is when a projector tells me what they think I should be doing or gives me advice when I haven't invited it in, it feels like I'm being sliced in half with a lightsaber. And it feels like criticism because it hasn't been invited. So it might not be critical. It might come from the deepest place of love within you. And that's why it's like, oh, Okay, fine, I won't say anything then. And that leads to the projector feeling bitter, right? That's where the bitterness comes in. It's like, why are you not recognizing the fact that I've just given you some fucking amazing advice? Now, bear in mind, a lot of the channels in my throat are projected. So if I just give wisdom or give advice to somebody, they probably won't take it. And then I will feel frustrated because that's my out of alignment theme as a Manigen, or angry. So it's really about understanding that, regardless of what human design type you are, your energy and your perspective and your voice, everything is your essence and your energy, and what you see and what you experience, and when you want to give to people, that is valuable. So if you are giving it away when it hasn't been asked for and it's not going to be appreciated or received, there is a deep felt sense in my body when I offer someone some wisdom that I feel so deeply like, oh my gosh, this is almost like a yearning in my body to share this with you. But they haven't asked for it and I just deliver it to them. The way that I feel when they don't receive it, I'm so fucking angry and I'm frustrated, and it feels like someone's just taken a ball of energy out of my body, just ripped it out and thrown it away. But I gave it away. Do you see what I'm saying? So it works in terms of all, it doesn't matter what type of human design you are. If you are giving your energy, your voice, your insight, if you are giving away or thinking that you're giving someone a gift of something that they haven't necessarily invited in or asked for or whatever, sometimes it can feel to the giver, it doesn't feel good when it's not received. You have to be able to if you want to keep giving unsolicited advice, it's like up to you, of course. I can never say never. I never say don't do something. But if you want to continue giving unsolicited advice, like that's totally, if it feels good to you to just be like, oh, I can see something, I'm just going to tell you what it is. If that feels good to you, fucking do it. However, if you feel the bitterness building up inside of you when it's not received and you're not recognized as a projector for the wisdom that you have, then that's when it's like, oh, actually, that's on me. Like, I just gave away something that that they didn't even want. You know, and it doesn't matter how valuable we think the thing is. So when you give somebody a gift and you're like, oh my God, this is such a great gift. And then they're like, okay, thanks. It's like, oh, okay. Versus actually like giving them something they really wanted. So does that help? I feel like that's quite a valuable piece for everyone actually. So thank you for bringing that in, Sue. But as a non-projector, when I receive unsolicited or unwanted advice from a projector, it feels like a slice and it feels critical and it makes me want to shut down, makes me feel defensive. Whereas on the flip side, if somebody like my Muay Thai instructor, for example, no, not at all, Phil, that's everyone, that's everybody. Yeah, no matter what type you are, what profile, that doesn't feel good, right? What was I got sidetracked there. I let myself get sucked out for a sec. Come back. Choo-choo, train of thought. On the flip side, as somebody with a lot of projectors in my life, but as a sacral human myself, for example, my Muay Thai instructor kind of has free rein to just, I was going to say the word penetrate, because that's what the aura does. The projector's aura penetrates. It is like slices straight to the core, right? But he has like an open invitation to just share with me what he sees. And I receive it and I feel so seen. And I feel like, wow, you really see me. And that is so incredible to feel that from a projector. It's just like the most beautiful feeling in the world. So I think for everybody, regardless of what type you are, we all want to give but we also want to be received when we do the giving. And yeah, that's regardless of what type you are, but just to help the projectors in the house understand how it feels and why people might shut down when you offer the advice that's unsolicited. Particularly if, for example, now I know my projector people, if they were to offer me some advice that I hadn't asked for, it kind of takes the edge off it a bit, and I don't necessarily view it as criticism anymore, because I understand the dynamic. But bearing in mind that a lot of people in your life, Sue, aren't going to understand what human design is, and they're not going to understand why it feels so cutting when you see something in them and you're just trying to help. You know, it's also about those boundaries, because I have friends who are projectors and will like ask questions or offer advice even if I haven't explicitly asked for it. However, because I know they're a projector, I don't get the same visceral response, or if I do, I understand it, so I don't kind of like clam up as much. I'm just like, oh, they're just offering me a piece and I don't really want to receive that right now, so I'm just going to kind of put it over there. Helpful? I'm trying very hard to ask if my advice or thoughts are wanted. One of my favorites is, are you open to reflection on this? Would you like a reflection on this? Are you open to receiving some advice around this? Oh, I love that, Phil. Thank you for that reflection, that it's landed a bit more today. Cool. So I think we're done, right? Let me know if you'd like me to do some more of these random pop-up live streams. Give me a little hell yeah in the comments if you're like, yeah, I could do with some of this, or some more little Noli nuggets. Validate me. My sacral likes the response. I'm like, did you have fun? Did you have fun? Did you? I haven't done a live stream in ages, like just a random little live stream to come and play. But it's been fun. Oh, big stretch. Whilst I wait for any final comments. Ooh, Thanks, Paul. I feel so validated. I feel so loved and I love it. I feel thoroughly satisfied having shared some nuggets and got to chat. Oh, thank you, Catherine. I'm really glad. It gives me great pleasure when I know that, again, that I've been received. That means a lot. So thank you. Wicked. Mwah, 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 mwah. Have an amazing rest of your day wherever you are in the world. If you caught the replay, obviously still respond, because I come back and have a little play with you in the comments. And then let's see when the next one bubbles. Have an amazing day. I love you. Bye.